So, welcome back. Thank you for coming and having this chat with us. I'm very excited. I heard that you have a new production coming through and callbacks just happened. You want to tell us anything about that?
Yeah, we just cast Peter Pan. So our first rehearsal is this afternoon. We're doing our read through, our table read. So our Peter Pan production, not the musical, it's the original play by J.M. Barrie with some changes made for the obvious stuff that really did not age well. So we have a brand new cast list posted Friday afternoon. Abby Moore, who's in band, is playing Peter Pan, and it's very exciting. We're going to be putting that on the first weekend of May. And yeah, it's rehearsals start today, so I'm very excited about it, trying to get all the scripts together and everything so we can get started.
I heard it's more of like a modern take on it. How are you kind of like implementing that?
Yeah, so we're doing Peter Pan as if everything in the Darlings nursery becomes the Neverland. When I read the script with my theater tech class that is out there watching right now, it had this sense of child's play, and there's even a mention in the stage directions like everything in the world is as a child sees it. Even the way the adults behave, the Mr. and Mrs. Darling behave, is very much like a kid thinks the world works this way. And so it just felt to me like if we could just make the world of the toys in the nursery and everything explode into the Neverland, it would be really effective. But then, you start looking at classic toys that people are going to recognize, and those are all modern because prior to, in like the 1800s, everybody had like handmade things and, specialty shop toys. And so I was like, if we're going to have, those cardboard bricks we all recognize and like Barbie mermaids and all of that kind of stuff, we need to just bring it into the 21st century. And so some of the Lost Boys are going to have pajamas from different decades and different eras.
Oh, that's cool.
And Peter is still going to be like from the 1800s, but and the pirates are still going to be pirates. But there is going to be a sense of, like I said, Barbie mermaids, blocks, little cardboard playhouses, like all that kind of stuff all over.
That's really cool. And like, how would you like describe the kind of like environment of theater and like Oak Mountain in general?
I think our theater environment, it's a big accepting group of very neurodivergent, weird kids. Lots of excitement and enthusiasm about what we do, but very much welcoming of new people who come in. It's one of those things that's like you come in and you start a play, and then all of a sudden you have a new family. I've got people in my program who didn't know anybody when they came in, and then by the second play they were in, their lock screen was like someone they just met in theater. It was like their new best friend.
Yeah, that's
So
great.
yeah, it's a really accepting and inviting place to be. There's a lot of energy and excitement, and the only, sometimes we have to tame it down so we can focus at rehearsal, but it's very big family.
Have you seen that like environment throughout like your path in coming to like this job?
I think so, and I think there's something about the pressure cooker of Tech Week that makes people bond really quickly. You spend a lot of hours in rehearsal together. You're spending, if you're a lead in the play, then you are possibly here for Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday until 5 o'clock every day, and so you get to know people really well, and so those form really close bonds with people.
Yeah. How did you find your path to like this job?
I started off in middle school theater, and I was in my first play was A Christmas Carol. I was Tiny Tim. And then I actually had that was a weird situation where they were like, well, we don't have enough kids, so you're Tiny Tim and you're Fred's wife, Peg. Or no, sorry, I wasn't supposed to be Fred's wife, Peg. I was supposed to be the lawyer, the solicitor that shows up in Act 1. And then the girl who played Peg locked herself out of her house, missed the bus, and nobody had cell phones at that point. So she just sat on her picnic table all day and didn't tell anybody she wasn't able to come to school, didn't think to go use a neighbor's phone. And so I ended up taking over that role in the play at the last second. And I think, honestly, that experience of getting to jump in and be like, I know everyone's lines and I'm going to save the day, made me feel really good. And so I did it all through high school. I went to college for theater. And then afterward, I was like, well, going and being an actor, that's a really hard life. That's really uncertain. I don't know if I want to do that. And I got into teaching preschool. And at first I was like, I'm not going to be a teacher because my mom, my aunts, they're all teachers. And then I just kept doing stuff like volunteering with the library and being like, oh man, I really like doing this. So I guess I'm going to go back to grad school, and that's what I'm going to do. And then I was going to become an English teacher because I thought it was easier to find a job. And I was in a play at South City Theater, A Midsummer Night's Dream, with Sharon Morgan, who used to be the theater teacher here when it first opened. And I was sitting there looking at the State Department of Education website one day while we were in rehearsal waiting for the scene before us to finish up. And I looked over and I went, Sharon, did you retire? Because they had her job posted. And so I applied for it, and I've been here since 2016.
Oh, wow. Do you have a favorite role that you've played?
Puck. A Midsummer Night's Dream. Yeah, it's the character very much has like that sense of play, that like middle school boy, I just want to see chaos energy.
Yeah.
And so it was really fun. And I just got to, like, everybody else is on stage walking around being like, I am a fairy king. And I was just like crouched at like Spider-Man in the corner. It was really fun.
Nice.
Yeah, that is really fun. How would you describe this environment, like Oak Mountain in general?
I think Oak Mountain, we have a lot of high achievers. We're very driven. I really like teaching here because we have the administrators have trust in the teachers. We hire, people who know what they're doing and then trust them to run their classroom. But we have a lot of kids here who are incredibly driven in the activities they do, like broadcast and show choir and band. I think we have a really good arts program here. And seeing, kids learn to be involved in that and go off and to do that in the real world. I'm finally getting to see some of my kids from my first year graduating and going and getting jobs places and seeing
wow.
what they do. And I think we prepare them for that here.
Yeah, that is very true.
And I wanted to jump in. What is some advice that you would give to somebody not necessarily going into theater, but just a middle schooler transitioning to high school? Just some, tidbits of wisdom that you have.
Yeah, I think this is probably not going to be the most popular advice, but I think don't go ahead and sign yourself up for as many AP classes as you can the moment you
Agreed.
get here. We have a lot of kids who do that because, you get that GPA boost, but I think unless you're going to be the valedictorian, having a, 4.83 or whatever is, that's not going to make a huge difference in your college admissions. What's going to make a difference, especially for, going to these high achiever schools, they're looking that you're well-rounded. They're looking that you have time to do theater, band, broadcast, whack the microphone. So if you're doing all of these AP classes and you're overloaded and you don't have time to do them all well, because AP classes require a lot of reading, then you're going to be really stressed out. You're going to be struggling academically. You might take the hit on your GPA from that.
Yeah.
And you're not going to have time to do the things that make you emotionally healthy, the things that make you well-rounded. And so, I've had one of my theater kids a couple of years ago was the salutatorian, but she also, was really stressed out about it, and afterwards was like, I just kind of wish I had taken theater earlier.
Yeah.
I wish I had taken broadcast. Like, take those electives, use that time, and don't be so worried about just getting the super high GPA or getting the early out that you forget to use this time here to explore and find out what you love.
So
Thank
we
you.
do have our middle schoolers here today. So I was wondering kind of for them, what is kind of like, what would you tell them if they wanted to get into like kind of like the creative part, like theater, band, choir, like what advice would you give
Yeah,
them? for
I
that?
mean, I would say dive in. I have a lot of kids who wait until their sophomore year to get involved in something because they just kind of want to sit back and see what it's like and see if people are going to judge them here. And life, the secret to happiness for me is finding things you love and then loving them without being ashamed or embarrassed about them. And so if you get involved in theater, you're going to make friends immediately. You're going to have people that care about the same things that you care about. If you get involved in band, in show choir, like you're going to have a support system there with those people and with those teachers as well. Instead of just sitting back and waiting and seeing what everyone else is doing and worrying what everybody else is doing. Just like do what you want to do.
Are there like any requirements or anything for theater that you need to tell people or anything?
Our Theater 1 class is a prerequisite for Theater 2 and 3, and we're starting up an advanced theater class next year, which right now I only have one student for it, but it's going to be like by application only, a senior who has gone through Theater 1 and 2 and probably 3 and is like interested. It will be required to do the after school, the competitions, all of that stuff, but they'll also get leadership opportunities. But Theater 1 and Theater Tech don't have any prerequisites. And then if you want to be involved in the after-school stuff, but you just don't have time because you have to take band and jazz ensemble and, you've got, I'm also in show choir or whatever, like you can still do the after-school productions. That does not require being enrolled in a theater class. It just requires you pay attention to the announcements and show up when we have auditions. Or if you want to do stage crew, get in touch with our stage manager, get on the list, and show up when we do set builds.
Do you have any like future plans for plays or anything that you want to implement?
I try to get my students who are my leadership team to pick the plays every year. So like the plays that we did this year, we threw a bunch of things on the board and debated and argued about them for hours last year. We are doing a competition play in the fall, and this is going to be like we need to recruit for this. Commedia dell'arte is this Italian Renaissance art form that basically informs everything that we watch that we think is funny now in cartoons and comedy, like all of the slapstick bits and all of the Looney Tunes stuff. And so we want to take an Italian commedia play style and adapt it to a high school environment. And so we're writing a play right now where the main characters that are like fallen in love with each other are a TikTok influencer and the president's daughter. And they're absolutely like the most obnoxious couple, you know, that everybody has to know when they break up and get back together. And they really like the forbidden love aspect of it. And then we need people who can do like juggling, acrobatics, like that's the kind of stuff that we really need to recruit people for.
That's cool.
So, you know, if you would like to juggle or do gymnastics, we could use you next year.
And you said y'all are writing it?
We're writing it. It's going to be our competition play, so it's going to be about 30 minutes, and we take it to competition. This year, when we went to competition, we brought a short play that was student written, and we won our district competition. And then, like last year, we went to state with one that we wrote as well. So we've kind of gotten into writing them because it gives us a chance to do something weird that is not the same 30-minute play that the judges see every single year over and over.
That's so impressive. That's very impressive. Well, thank you so much for coming out today and talking
thank
to
you so
us.
much.
I wish you the best for Peter Pan and what comes up in the future.
Thank you
Yeah.
for having me.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.